When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: the Onyx sample. User: IR0NCL4D. Posted March 20th, 1995.
The core sample came up like everything else. Mud-choked, veined in rust, half of it flaking into the drill pan before they could even bag it. Just another dead rock pulled from an abandoned uranium shaft 60 miles outside Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. But when it dried, it turned black. Not coal black, not volcanic. It was void, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, a darkness that seemed too clean for the dust-caked lab we worked in. We cataloged it as sample 341-Onyx. It had no known match in the mineral database. Dr. Langston, our supervising geochemist, ran a spectrum analysis on it and then ran it again. Both times, the results came back blank. I mean, as in blank. The machine gave us absolutely no readout, just the standard error message for an empty tray. But we weren't looking at an empty tray. It was sitting there, perfectly still. I was the junior tech on site, final year of my master's, doing mostly busy work, labeling, cataloging, maintaining chain of custody. I didn't touch it the first day. I didn't even think much of it. Every week, we found some weird slag or metamorph variant that nobody had seen before, but nothing ever stayed in the tray and didn't exist. Langston started running thermal. We got some movement. The sample reacted strongly to mid-range acoustic waves, particularly those in the 18 to 22 kilohertz range. A dry shiver passed over it. Not vibration, but a flexing like cartilage under pressure. No one slept that night. The next morning, the power went out. Not all at once, just the lab wing. Lights popped one by one like they were shorting from within. Langston tried to laugh it off, said it was probably a grounding issue from the generator hookup, but he couldn't stop blinking. When it came back online, the sample was still there, except it was larger. Not by much, just a few millimeters. Enough to measure, enough to note. No one said anything. By day 4, the audio system was cutting in and out, mostly static. Then the static started forming rhythms, Morse-like clicks, pacing, breathing, and then the voices started. Not voices exactly, though. They were familiar. You'd be working at your station and you'd hear your own voice mutter something. Not something you were thinking, mind you. Something you'd said maybe hours earlier, played back, whispered. One night, I heard myself say my mother's name, just a breath of it, behind my shoulder. I hadn't spoken to her in 3 weeks. Langston looked worse every day, red around the eyes, like his vision was drying out from the inside. I caught him humming in the break room, tapping a small rock hammer against his wrist like it was a tuning fork. By day 7, the sample was the size of a clenched fist. We hadn't fed it, hadn't touched it. We reviewed the footage. It never moved, never shifted, but each morning it was a little closer to round, a little smoother. Then we started dreaming in echoes. It happened to all of us. You'd fall asleep and the dream wouldn't be yours. You'd see the lab from above or from below or through the smear of a dirty faceplate that didn't belong to you. You'd walk into your own room and watch yourself sleep. I woke one night to find Langston standing in the hallway, muttering through the wall to the mineral vault. He was barefoot, covered in grit, his hands red with something that didn't look like blood. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, listening. He said, it wants to be more. And then he said, nothing else. We filed a report to the Department of Energy Oversight Board, and that was day 10. We never heard back. Day 11, I found Janine, our assistant chemist, kneeling in the furnace room. She was holding her hand under the heat duct, just letting it burn. Her skin was cracked and blistering, and she just looked up at me like I was interrupting something sacred. By noon, she couldn't speak anymore. Her throat was torn up. She'd been repeating the same phrase into the sample room's intercom. Make me into something, please. Make me into something, please. Langston tried to seal it up, said we had to buy time. We used lead panels, plastic sheeting, tape. It didn't matter because it wasn't about touching. It was listening. Whatever the Onyx was, it wasn't interested in contact. It was resonance, intention. Every time we measured it, it was measuring us back. The more we wondered what it wanted, the more it knew. By day 13, the lights were strobing, and we couldn't keep them on for more than 30 seconds without circuits blowing. Every instrument we owned gave only one reading. 0.00. Langston locked himself in the mineral vault that night, and I still don't know how he bypassed the failsafe. When I got to the observation room, I could see inside he was kneeling in front of the sample. He made a circle around himself, shards of quartz, copper wire, bits of his own hair. He wasn't chanting or cutting himself, though. He was just watching. The sample was moving. Slowly, though, not shifting, not twisting, rotating. Floating 3 inches above the pedestal, turning like a planet with no sun right there before him. Langston looked up and met my eyes. I thought he might say something brilliant in that moment, something final, something like it's alive or it's here or even run, but all he said was, don't take your eyes off it. Then he smiled and started to pull his own teeth out.
Subject, the blue door. User, P1R3 Audi. Posted, August 4th, 1998.
It put me on the 3rd floor, room 3D because it was the only one left with a working radiator. I didn't mind. The building was old, some crooked little 10-unit job off the state highway near Gallup, New Mexico. It had faded green siding, cracked stucco stairs, and a view of a cinder block liquor store that hadn't had power since the Reagan years. I'd just gotten divorced, and it didn't take much to make me feel better than I had in that house. Rent was only $180 a month anyway, and I paid in cash to a woman named Miss Edie, who wore the kind of lipstick that dried your mouth just looking at it. She always smelled like menthols and powdered sugar. If you knocked, she'd yell through the door, "Don't ask about 3F." Not that anyone did, at least until I moved in. You had to pass 3F to get to mine. The hallway was narrow, smelled like floor wax and mildew, and that door was dead center, painted a different blue than the rest. Not navy, not sky, more like dried out turquoise. The knob was brass, polished clean, and it never collected dust like the others. I started noticing that in the first week. The weird thing was, though, no one lived there. I mean, I thought someone did because I'd hear the pipes bang when I passed, or sometimes a creak or scrape like furniture being moved. One night, I even swore I heard a radio through the wall playing something warbly, like a sermon or something like that, maybe, but the signal dropped out every few seconds. I tried to ask Miss Edie about it one morning when I dropped off rent, but she barely looked up from her register book. "It's sealed up, honey, and it ain't been rented in years. But there's..." I tried to respond, but she cut me off sharp. "Do your laundry and stay out the damn hallway, okay?" By my second month, I couldn't walk past it without turning my head. You ever do that thing where you try not to look at something and it just makes you hyper aware of it? That was me. I'd fumble my keys at my own door, start sweating like I was under a heat lamp just from the feeling that someone or something was on the other side of 3F listening. One night in late October, I came home from a late shift and the hallway was dark. The overhead bulbs had been blown for weeks. I checked my little keychain flashlight and started up the stairs. When I reached the landing, the beam passed right over 3F, and the door was cracked open. Not wide, maybe an inch. Just enough to see that the room inside was pitch black. Not dark like a room with no lights on, no, dark like it had depth, like it went on too far. I stopped. Every instinct in me said don't move. I stepped closer, just one pace, and the hallway smelled different. Damp, like rotting leaves, and there was this faint coppery scent like the inside of a nosebleed. I crouched down real slow and peeked through the opening, and I saw nothing. But not in the way you'd expect. There was movement inside, like a shape shifting through fog, something crawling, not walking, and something else, a sound, low, rhythmic, like a man talking just under breath. I couldn't understand the words, but I swear it made my gums ache. For the next few weeks, things escalated. My sleep got erratic. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, mouth open, feeling like I'd been yelling. I started hearing knocks, always 3, at my door. Never loud, just enough to make you question if it happened. Once, I opened my door right after the third knock and saw a single shoe lying in front of 3F. It was soaked like it had come from a swamp, but no one else saw it. Hell, no one else on the floor acted like anything strange was going on. Miss Edie started avoiding eye contact altogether. Then came Thanksgiving night. I hadn't gone anywhere. Didn't feel like seeing family. I heated a frozen turkey dinner in the microwave and poured wild turkey over it like gravy. I was feeling that kind of lonely where the silence starts pressing on your ears, and then 3 knocks, but not at my door, at 3F. I froze, mouth still full of cheap stuffing. The hallway was quiet, but then the knob turned. I saw it from the shadow under the door, a slight twist, like someone testing if it was locked. Then the sound of the deadbolt clicking open. I moved to my peephole, heart slamming. The door opened, and this time, all the way. Light spilled out, but not warm light. Fluorescent, flickering, sterile, like a hospital room left running long after the power's gone. In the doorway stood a man, only he looked stretched. Thin arms, neck too long. His face was blank, no expression. His eyes looked like TV static, full of something fast and twitching behind the glass, and he was holding something, a photograph of me. You ever feel your blood go cold? That wasn't metaphor. I dropped straight to the floor, breath caught in my throat like a fishhook. When I looked back up, the door was closed. No light, no man, just silence. I moved out the next morning, left my deposit, left a load of clothes in the closet even, packed up what I could carry, and hit I-40 without saying goodbye. But I still think about it a lot. I think about 3F, about the man with no expression and the photograph in his hand, and sometimes late at night, I dream about knocking on that blue door myself. And when it opens, it's me standing inside, but I'm not smiling, and there's someone else behind me, and it's dark in there, so dark it goes on forever.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.